This week on the Legion Clubhouse, something strange is going on the moon. What could it be? Reports are coming in, but...
They were the heroes from the future, teenagers protecting the universe from those that would sow the seeds of chaos. Each had unique powers and abilities, and though they often had their differences, they came together to save the day as the Legion of Superheroes. Now you can be a part of their adventures and learn the history of the future in the Legion Clubhouse.
Okay, so we are reading Adventures of Superman number 478 and Legion of Superheroes, volume 4, number 19 this week.
Yes.
And a couple of problems that I have right off the bat. I know when Crisis on Infinite Earths came out, DC Comics was really big on creating a bazillion tie-in issues. Every issue, every title that they were printing had some kind of tie-in to Crisis, even if it was just like subminimal. Okay. And I think that got readers into, at the time, thinking that they needed it, even after Crisis was over, that they needed to buy everything that was coming out from DC in order to understand what was going on at DC. Now, I don't know if that is something that Marvel pushed them into, because I know Marvel has always had this, well, if you're not following all of our Marvel comics, don't be surprised if you don't understand what's going on when Doctor Strange appears in the Spider-Man comic next week. But this is a prime example of, if you don't read everything, you are missing out on everything.
The real frustration of Adventure 478 is, even if you did read everything, you're still kind of missing some important bits of the plot. Because if you actually go, and I remember reading this and being very confused. 478 is part 7 of 7, and it's a time travel crossover, but it's also, for all intents and purposes, the first post-crisis appearance of Dev-Em.
Yeah, who's not a kryptonite. He's a Daxamite. We should point this out. This is also at the high point of the Triangle Shield series run, where Adventure, Action, and Supergirl,
Superman, Action, Adventures of Superman, and I want to say there was a fourth.
I want to say it's Supergirl. Or it could have been Man of Steel. Yeah, it could have been Man of Steel, because we're getting close to Death of Superman by 91. So, yeah, I was only occasionally reading Superman on and off at this point, so I would not have. None of this pops any memory. I do remember something about Superman being tossed through time, but I do not remember this 7-part story arc at all. And this one finds Superman in the 30th century, fighting Dev-Em on the moon. Well, unknowingly fighting Dev-Em on the moon, because he's been rocketed through time and space. And each time, one time apparently he's been sent back to the 1950s, where he got to meet the Legion of Superheroes. Yeah, okay. And then he got rocketed to the future, where he gets to see his friends again. And he arrives just in time to stop Dev-Em from destroying everything, because Dev-Em is a real jerk and is intent on killing 20 million people on the moon. And even Andromeda / Laurel can't do anything about it. And apparently all of this is Valor's fault, if only everyone was reading the Valor series at the same time.
Well, here's the thing. Valor doesn't have a series yet. So all of the Valor stuff that we know actually is in this issue. And it's interesting, because Valor being sent into the future by Dev-Em being sent into the future by Valor because he had lead poisoning is what happened to Mon-El in the pre-crisis continuity. But it was Superman who sent Mon-El forward. And of course, Valor and Mon-El, same guy with different hats. So Valor in the new continuity did to Dev-Em what Superman did to him, which I think maybe irony. or actually it's probably lead now that I think of it. But
lead poisoning.
yeah. But when the Time and Time Again crossover was 7 parts, and the villain of it, and we see him in this issue, is the Linear Man. Now, this is before
one of the
Linear Men. The Linear Men didn't exist yet.
Oh, I thought that's why Booster Gold was in this 7-part series. Why Booster Gold was all upset because he got sent to the past, or Crisis on Infinite Earths. Everybody, it's all convoluted. But at one point, Booster Gold was at the end of time with the Linear Men, and he got sent back, and then the Linear Men are dead set on tracking him down for whatever reason. That's what I thought was going on when we introduced Travis O'Connell, one of the Linear Men, who is...
His name is Travis.
Oh, Travis. Yeah. Travis O'Connell. Travis O'Connell. And he needs to get Superman back to the right point in time, and the only way he can do it is by having Superman get blowed up real good to send him hurtling through time and space, to break through that time barrier and send him through time and space, which, okay, I get it. I mean, Marty McFly was going to get back to the future by crawling inside of a refrigerator at a nuclear testing facility so that he could get back to 1985. So maybe, this whole thing is still going to work here as well. Or, spoiler alert, everybody, it does. It's a happy ending. Superman finds himself back in his own present time. Devim is no longer a problem, question mark.
But
and only 20, it only costs 20 million people's lives, plus however many that we're going to lose in issue 19.
And Linear Man himself also dies because he was... Linear Man appeared first. The Linear Men actually came later. I'm not saying they're a retcon. I'm not saying that, the creators didn't think, oh, yeah, let's totally... We know this is coming, right? It'll be short. But you know how Jurgens and a lot of Bronze Age creators have kind of the catch as you can, fly of the seat of your pants thing. So Linear Man comes first, tried to send Booster back to the future. Superman got involved. Superman got thrown through time, space, and dimension. Linear Man has to blow up the moon and sacrifice himself in order to get Superman back where he belongs to fix the giant paradox he created
error. Yeah.
By trying to fix the paradox that he claimed Booster Gold was. Now,
I'm showing, sorry, I don't mean, so I'm showing that the Linear Men, the team, first appeared in Adventures of Superman 476, 2 issues before this one that we are reading.
Right. That's the first appearance of Travis. Travis, as the Linear Man, appears in 476. The rest of the Linear Men don't show up until after Travis's death. Leary Lee, who is the purple girl, who ends up replacing Travis with Rip Hunter, I believe, and then brings Rip into the Linear Men, doesn't show up until after Linear Man dies. So it's a complicated issue.
So I don't have a problem with this storyline. No, I really don't. Time travel for me, there's a million different ways you can do it. All of them are valid unless it's a stupid cupcake and then it's just dumb. So blowing up a planet of 20 million people, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with this story, except all of this stuff is supposed to have a big role in what's going on over in the Legion title proper. And if you, again, we'll get to this in number 19. Number 19 opens with the moon blowing up, and there is nothing that says, hey, for more on this, go read Adventure Comics 478, or a editor's note, Dev M blew up the moon in Adventures of Superman. None of that happens. So if you're going from issue 18 to 19, because you're like, well, my budget is thin and comics are now, what is this comic? $1, I think at this point, by 75 or by 91. But $1.25, $1.75, whatever it is. That's getting kind of
$1.75, yeah.
expensive, and so maybe I'm not picking up Superman because Superman, according to John Byrne, has never been part of the Legion of Superheroes. So why would I be reading this if I'm a true diehard Legion fan? And then you open up 19 and you're like, what's going on? And even the Omicron at the end is full of speculation. And again, a lot of this could have just been cleared up by saying, hey, did you not read Adventures of Superman 478? Go check it out now for the full story on how all of this happened.
And there is a reference in the original story in the Legion Outpost, the letters column, but the letters column is not part of the collection. So unless you actually have a copy that reprints the letters column of of Legion number 19, there's really no explanation of the who and the what and the why. And
yeah,
I
mean, it's just it's an odd. So I don't know what's going on at DC at this time. This is Dan Jurgens' story, which again, it's fine. I really don't have a problem with this. But it seems to have forced the Legion team to radically alter what they were planning on doing. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, if they had always planned on some kind of catastrophe or something happening, because again, the last time we left it off, you had Invisible Kid 2 teaming up with Evil-O to fight the Dark Circle and the Dominators, and now all of a sudden the next issue just begins with the moon exploding. Now, granted, we never know the time, we never know the place that the moon is going to explode and destroy us all. So maybe that is part of what was planned, but this seems very much forcing the Legion team into a corner that they didn't want. They already didn't want to have to retcon away Superman as Superboy, and now they're being forced to do, again, what a Superman creator is telling them to do. I would be very upset if that were the case.
And here's the thing. Keith Giffen has actually, or the late Keith Giffen, has been quoted about what happens here and why the damage happened and what they really wanted to do. The destruction of the moon was something that Giffen and theoretically the Bierbaums, who are his co-plotters, wanted to do in the book, according to Giff, but his actual explanation of it was what they were trying to do. And here's the thing. There's a couple of panels in this issue where the Dominators are like, oh man, are they going to hit the chambers? I hope they don't hit the chambers. What about the chambers, you guys? Did you hear about those chambers? That's in Legion number 19. He wanted to blow up the moon to free what's in the chambers. So, yeah, it's a thing. And it's a very awkward thing. And the crossover, if you can call it that, doesn't necessarily work for me because the Legion does appear for about 3 panels in Adventures of Superman 476. And it is old school, the original 3 Legionnaires.
Yeah.
But it's also a moment that you're kind of like, well, is this something that takes the place of the previous interactions? And you have to understand, no, it really can't, because Superboy and the Pocket universe took care of that. But this is the point where they're like, well, we also did this thing. And I'm like, well, now you're putting hats on hats. And I usually like that. But here it just feels unmotivated. And bringing in Devim the way we do, with little explanation of how he's suddenly a Daxamite, how he's suddenly a psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est, and why he wants to kill everything in sight, or what his damage is, or more importantly, why he can just, beat up Laurel, who is equally as powerful as him, and just easily just slap her down. All of that stuff is kind of left by the wayside to do the crossover and have the only real tangible evidence of it be the destruction of the moon.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more irritated that this just starts in issue 19 starts in media res, where it's like, there's no record scratch to say, hey, this is what's happened before. It is literally
Right.
just, hey, we're having a problem with Luna, and we don't know what's going on. And then the entire issue is just it's a not,
Cascading series of catastrophes.
yeah, I mean, it is a disaster movie. We're just now fully into issue 19. It is just a disaster movie. Just like if you were watching, in the 1970s and early 80s, the disaster movie was like the great movie of the week, thanks to movies like The Towering Inferno and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
So, we have where there's a giant tsunami, or there's a giant earthquake, or there's a bunch of tornadoes, or whatever it is. And even today with movies, and even today with movies like Don't Look Up, where it's literally the end of the world kind of event, we're only touching in with I'm just going to say average Joe people. Yes, we get to see Dr. Jimmel in here briefly screaming about some nonsense, and we get to see maybe one of the science police people. But for the most part, there are no Legion members in this book, except for at the end where you get a coda where we'll get to. Maybe we'll do that in part 2.
Yeah,
but it's just really weird that here is the destruction of the moon that is probably going to do massive damage to the Earth, and including what's his name, Mr. The time travel click clack cricket guy, the cockroach guy, where he's just like, well, I guess we're dead. Good knowing you, Mr. No Eyes. And Mr. No Eyes is like, yes, it's also good to know you. I am now leaving my body to go back to my hive mind.
Circadius Aeneas.
Yeah, that's his name. So it's just a series of, I don't know how you feel about in horror movies, I call it gore porn, where it's just how much blood and guts and stuff can we show just for shock value. And to me, this first half of this issue is disaster porn, where it's just, and they even do it at the very last page of this part of the story, where it's just like they list every major city on the planet that has been destroyed. Billions of lives are lost in this. And this just feels like destruction, disaster porn. And I really have kind of I don't know, it's very much a turnoff for me.
I agree. And, I have said for years that where the Legion goes, greater comics follow. This is 1991. So it's a little early for grimdark death and destruction in a full-on 90s fashion. But it's right at the cutting edge of it. And it's overwhelming. I remember just hating this issue when it came out in 1990 for two reasons. One, there's almost no Legion presence.
Yeah, there is no Legion presence. Yeah.
And when you get to the page of all of the cities that die, or all of the cities that have a fusion power sphere explosion underneath them, I guess I should say, it is, it's something that it kind of fades out into a huge kind of explosion, and you have the very much evocative of the atomic bomb explosion taking out a city, and then just the list of cities that are dying. It is depressing. It's disheartening, and it feels like I don't want to say giving up, but it feels like we've gotten to the point where realistic storytelling has to include just endless death and grinding horrific depression. There can't be anything bright or fun that isn't called Matter Eater Lad. And, people are going to die, and Legionnaires are going to die. We're going to see people bleeding out in little rooms. Some of them are Dominators, so it's, kind of funny because the Dominators look a little bit like what would happen if Snap, Crackle, and Pop had a really bad overbite. But also, it's meant, I think, to be the turning point in the Dominator's control of EarthGov. It's meant to be the thing, the final straw, the thing that breaks the camel's back of Earth finally turning on the Dominators in the EarthGov. But it just feels like too much.
It's like, wait, you had a plan that you put in place back in the 1970s to blow us up if we got out of control? Yes, we did. Well, we don't like that. And that's kind of what it feels like. And unfortunately, I'm wondering too if this is the part where when everyone says 5 years later Legion was
Flies
not
off the
good.
rails.
Yeah, where it flies off the rails and just goes to, crazy town. And I'm wondering if this is it, because from what I can tell, it's like the next dozen issues are just all, hey, let's rummage through the debris of Earth, and let's introduce, characters like Lobo and Darkseid, spoiler alert, and how do they fit into all of this, and who are we finding, and what's going on, and will we ever be back together or not? Secrets revealed. I don't know. It seems like a little bit too, I don't know. It just seems like there's got to be a morning after. And it's just like, no, there really doesn't. You could have made these happy, fun adventures, but instead you've gone in places that I don't think I want to see my Legion go.
We are right at the edge. I will say that for me, for reasons which we'll get to in an episode or two, the 5 years later Legion era is officially irretrievable after Legion number 24. But
is that the big reveal in the cave?
Woo! But I did not care for these two issues as a pseudo crossover, because neither of them really seem
No, they're
to
not
be
really a cross. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're crossovers.
I mean, they are, but they're not. They're not. I mean, it's not something where you're like, hey, buy this issue. Like you said, there's nothing that tells you, hey, the Legion picks up from Superman 478, or we are picking up from Legion from Superman 478. It's just sort of, here's two stories that happened, and if you happen to know that both of them are out there, you can read them back to back and have them seem like they follow from one another. But
I even went back into issue 18 to see if there was any kind of reference to, like, hey, make sure you, and again, I don't have a letters page in my number 18, if there was one, to say, hey, make sure you read Adventures of Superman number 478 out in 30 days or whatever, to see if there was just any kind of hint of what was to come. These two together, mind you, they do tell a complete story. And except for how the heck did Superman get in the future? Of course, read the other Superman. But they do tell a complete story from beginning to end of the last day of the moon and what happens afterwards. I don't mind that. I just feel like if I was just into the Legion, if I only had my $3 a month to spend, and I bought a Legion and a Wally West, the fastest man alive, then I would be like, what's going on? You just killed Wally's kids, and now you're killing Saturn Girl and Lightning Lad. What? I don't understand any of this, and I would be very upset about that. So I think from the standpoint of these two issues telling a story, I agree they tell a story, and I think the story is interesting enough, except for the destruction porn that happens after, but as far as a overall continuity story goes with what we know from issue 18, this stuff is totally out of left field and just comes as a complete surprise. And we already just spent a whole year of reading Legion comics where we're scratching our head going, what's going on? How did everything fall apart? Who's this big furry guy? So I think my frustration would start to grow to the point where I think maybe my $1.75 would be better off on this brand new comic I hear coming up called Impulse, and go with that.
It definitely it feels like not necessarily a literal cruel slap in the face, but it feels like, oh, wait, what? There's no real setup, and I feel like you're correct in that they do tell two sides of a story, but it's like, here's a bunch of crazy, wacky things that happen. The moon blows up. The end. Next story picks up. The moon blows up. Here's some completely unrelated, crazy, wacky, tangential things that happen after the moon blows up. And I mean, Murph, stop blowing things up.
Yeah, stop blowing things up,
Keith.
Way to go, Jurgens.
If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate your support. You can find out more and become a Legion Clubhouse member at patreon.com/major spoilers.
Okay, if you guys are upset as we are at the Legion, and maybe you didn't have as much fun with the Brian Michael Bendis Legion of Superheroes, and you're really not having fun with the Absolute Legion of Superheroes.
Oh my God.
We've got a whole new Legion of Superheroes that are coming our way in 2026. So the reports are sooner than later, although we do have the January solicitations, I believe, that are out that haven't listed the new Legion of Superheroes series. So I don't think it happens in January. But we do know who is writing this series, and I'm very excited about this. Announced at the New York Comic Con, Joshua Williamson will be the new ongoing writer for Legion of Superheroes. Now, for people who don't know who Joshua Williamson is, he is all over the place right now. For me, he has become the only reason I am interested in Transformers and G.I. Joe, because he was doing those over at Skybound with the reboot that they did when Robert Kirkman brought over the Energon universe over to Skybound. I'm totally down with everything that he's doing in those books. I think he's a fantastic writer for that. He's handling big teams very well, and he's doing some stuff right now with DC. I think I saw his name also. I forget where else I saw his name recently, but I'm kind of excited for this news just because I've been reading a lot of Williamson lately, and I want to see what he's doing with the Legion.
Yeah, I think right now he's either on Action Comics or part of a rotating team.
Well, he's definitely in that.
Action Comics?
Yeah, he must be in the Action Comics because he is doing that Absolute Legion storyline.
Right. And that storyline, here's the thing. So I like Josh Williamson a lot. And an example of why is one that I realized just recently. When Josh Williamson was writing the Flash.
Yeah.
After Barry Allen and right around the Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, Joshua Williamson was writing the Flash, and Wally West became the active Flash again. This was after Heroes in Crisis revealed that Wally murdered 10 other superheroes while sort of kind of mind controlled or something.
Yeah.
Joshua Williamson made a point of having a story in Flash that didn't just say, hey, Wally, we're going to help you deal with your trauma. The Gold Beetle, who is just a wonderful character, a descendant of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold both, which kind of makes it feel like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold got married and had a kid together, as impossible as that may be. But in any case, the Gold Beetle, who is a descendant of both bloodlines, went back in time and put a bunch of clones in the Heroes in Crisis storyline so that nobody actually died during Heroes in Crisis.
Oh, and that was revealed in the Flash story?
That was revealed, during the Flash story, during Flash World, I think it was, or Planet Flash.
Yeah, I had to stop reading Flash because we don't have a comic book store, and and DC won't send us review copies anymore. So, yeah.
But it was right around the time of the 1 Minute War, which I think.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I did review that first issue of the 1 Minute War,
and it's a moment that isn't, hey, you guys messed up a story. It isn't, I hate what you did with that story. It's in universe. This had unforeseen consequences. And it was something that created paradoxes. And so there's a storyline reason behind it. It's not, we're going to negate this thing that Tom King wrote because we don't care for Tom or his work. It's, here's why Heroes in Crisis was important at the time. And here's the stuff that it made. And so here's how we fixed it. And that's how, a bunch of characters who actually hadn't appeared before Heroes in Crisis and apparently haven't appeared since got shot down and murdered. I'm not bitter as the only fan of the Protector, mind you, but
of the Heroes in Crisis series. Yeah.
I did not care for Heroes in Crisis.
Here's the other thing. So I'm very excited about this. There has not been an artist announced, but here's the interesting twist to this, and maybe we read something into this, maybe we don't. But Joshua Williamson, when he was asked to write the Legion, called up Mark Waid, who has written the Legion 2 different times, and asked for his blessing on doing this, and made the allusion something to the effect of, if you like the Legion, let me see if I can find the exact quote. Let's see. With Mark Waid saying that despite all the different versions of the team that have existed over the years, the one DC has chosen to use is one that he's, quote, confident everyone will embrace, unquote, no matter when they first got into the group. And we will be seeing them, quote unquote, soon.
I wonder if it's a hat trick situation.
I did not like the moment when we had, I mean, we've already seen it already in one of these series where we have 3 different takes of the Legion all showing up, 5 different Brainiacs and 3 different triplicate girls all showing up. I was not a fan of that. And to be honest, Bendis did what Bendis did. I wish he could have gotten to the point a little bit sooner and not radically changed everything. But when he says confident everyone will embrace, I'm not thinking it's his 3-boot Legion with Matter Eater Lad as the ice cream man, but rather the first run of Mark Waid that was brilliant, the Legionnaires line.
I think having read bits and pieces of what's going on in Superman, there was either 28 or 29. Superman 28 or 29 had a scene where Superman went into the future and he's like, we're going to gather all 4 legions. And they're like, oh, we already did that. Yeah. And there's this huge scene of Metropolis on fire and 3 dead giant colossal boy skeletons.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
So let's go back real quick. Dev M reminds me the prototype of Superboy Prime, who is the character that you're talking about in that Absolute Legion storyline, where he's like, oh no, I'm able to break the 4th wall. Whackity schmackity. Let's go to the future. Oh, they're all dead. I'm turned on you. Oh, you should have seen that coming. That's who Dev M reminds me of is Superboy Prime.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So
I don't care for Superboy Man Prime.
I am going to guess February, March. What was the first? What was the first year that Legion debuted?
1958.
So let's do some quick back of the calculator math here. 2026 minus, what'd you say, 1958? Gives us 68 years, so we're not quite 70 years of the Legion.
Adventure 247 had a publication date of April of 58.
Okay, so I'm going to guess we're going to see that in March, April.
Yeah, with street date of February 27th, theoretically.
When does DCKO
end? That's a good question. DCKO just started. It's an 8-issue series.
So 8 months.
So it should end around March or April.
All right, so that's when we're getting
September.
That's when we're getting the new Legion. That's what I'm calling it right now. March or April. Write it on your calendar.
You're not. I don't think you're wrong. I think DCKO is a lot more than just Mortal Kombat. But it is kind of a Legion argument. But no, it's not a Legion argument.
No, but that's when I think that we'll see it, because there will be some retooling, rebooting, retweaking of superheroes, and what a better time to pull all of those Absolute Legion heroes that are still around together.
Right.
Not the evil ones, but the dead ones, the hero ones together.
It is my fervent hope that we are going to get a composite Legion that has
composite
a little
Superman.
bit of
no.
No, that guy's dumb. Actually, I love him. I love him more than my own child. That's not true. Slightly less than
too late. You already have it. It's already been recorded. It's all right. This to her right now. Send. Okay,
they listen to McElroy podcast.
There's nothing wrong with Bim Bam. So, all right. So here, listeners, what are your thoughts on this Joshua Williamson announcement? I know it's been a week or two that we haven't been able to talk with you about this news, but head over to the Major Spoilers Discord server. The Legion chatter in there is great, especially recently with people filling in additional information that we are missing and just contributing some really good thoughts. And now it's time for you to contribute your thoughts on the Joshua Williamson announcement. And so I'm looking forward to reading everybody's thoughts. Okay, I know this is the third segment, ladies and gentlemen. Usually we're talking about a whole other issue, but we already did about 3/4 of Legion of Superheroes 19. But after the destruction of Earth, we do get one other story, and that is what's going on with Jonah in in his adventures in 5000 BC or whenever it is, where he finally makes his way back to Earth, and he is going to be, I guess, content to just live out his days in ancient Earthonia.
Egypt? Yeah.
I mean, it is Egypt. You can't hide that part.
We can't call it that. But yeah, it is a very cool story. And this, honestly, there are two factors that make me mad about this short story. And I want to say
Dr. Fate? Is it the appearance of Dr. Fate?
Dr. Fate does not make me angry. Okay. Dr. Fate at this point is one of Keith's favorites. Remember, Keith did that run of Dr. Fate in 80.
Yeah, we reviewed that on the Major Spoilers podcast last year. I want to say people can go look that up on our other show, the Major Spoilers podcast. I believe it was called the Fate podcast or something like that. It is fun.
And Joe making it to Earth, crashing on Earth, meeting a girl who looks just like his ex, who is clearly, there's something up with her. That I like. That girl turning out to be secretly an evil Lord of Chaos. Spoilers on a 35-year-old book, I guess. I'm fine with that.
Are you really?
Two things. I am, because of what it does. Joe has been basically running and refusing to talk about Tinya the whole time. So we're 19 issues into this run. His wife is dead, and he will not talk about it. And he's just being all, tough guy, stiff upper lip, blibbity blue. This story puts him together with the Lord of Chaos. He feels like he's happy. He thinks he's in love. He's being manipulated by an evil creature from beyond the pale, but whatever. And he kind of loses it when Naboo shows up and just goes, "Okay, you're dead," which that's one thing that I don't like about this.
Well, so
Naboo just shows up.
Well, Naboo has been running around. Like, there's people that have been spying on Jonah and saying, hey, look, this interloper is running around. He's probably dealing with the bad person. They're not saying it's a Lord of Chaos, but they're like the bad person. And Naboo is like, I don't know if I should interfere, until finally the Lord and Master, whoever is controlling Naboo, says, no, go get this taken care of. It's probably Imhotep or something. And Naboo is like, fine, I'll go take care of this. And he goes and kills the Lord of Chaos. I don't have a problem with that kind of storyline. What I have the problem with is, and somebody out there who is a better psychiatrist and psychologist than I am, please weigh in on this line of thought. I have not accepted my wife's quote unquote death. It is the one thing that has been bothering me for 5 years or however long this has been. I cannot talk about it. I will not talk about it. I am deeply still in grief over this. I meet a woman who looks almost exactly like my wife, who has some of the same mannerisms, who can speak the same language as me, and we fall in love. And then that person who looks just like my wife is suddenly killed. And I have come to grips with the death of my wife. No, I think the opposite would be. I think I would go even more insane, that you can't be happy with anybody who looks, acts, or is anywhere close to Tinya, because she's going to die. And I think that would mess me up more psychologically than, okay, yeah, all right. I had a few good months with this woman, and do your best, Naboo. And Naboo's just like, fine, I'll snap you back to the future. And then, Doc Brown pops in for just one flash second. He's like, good Scott. And it's just like 1.21 gigawatts. And so I don't know. That's the part that I think is, because when he does get back to the present of the moon being destroyed, I don't know. He basically goes to Shangri-La, and is basically like, okay, I've come to grips with this, and now I'm okay. I don't think so, man. I really don't think so. I don't think it's that easy. So that's my main problem with the story.
I think that for me, it feels like, you're probably not necessarily like the guy, but are you familiar with the attachment theory about human relationships, where if, like, for instance, if a child loses a parent and then a new person stands in, and that person feels like a parent figure, that the child will attach to that new person as though they were the parent. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Joe is, he's an adult. This is the future.
Oh, it happens for everybody.
You're a grown up when you're 85 in the future. So Joe's got to be like 100, 110. But yeah, so I feel like if we kind of expand that, and I don't know if you can, but you have that attachment pattern. He's lost Tinya. He feels like he's crushed. And then they spend like 3 months in the past together being happy. And he's like, at the end, Naboo goes, and he's like, oh, well, that wasn't real at all. That was some evil tentacle monster from beyond. And I was just pretending that it was Tinya, and now I'm sad and I'm crying, but I'm crying because I miss Tinya and not because I miss this crazy person who, wasn't not even a person, who was this evil thing. To some degree, I feel like it shows off a little bit of emotional maturity for Joe, in that he's like, I understand that what was here was not real, and it only existed because I was so tied up in the loss of Tinya and wanting Tinya back, and being completely avoidant of my feelings and my fears and all of this, and having the evil tentacle monster from beyond be his girlfriend for 4 months. You do what you do. We don't judge. Your kink is your kink, Ultra Boy, and that's fine. But
yeah, so
I also, it feels like he may have kind of said, okay, I've been being a little crazy here in the past, and now that I'm in the future, I'm going to take a breath, and I feel like I can grieve my dead wife. I can deal with the loss, and it's kind of like the destruction of the moon. It feels a little rushed.
Yes, no, that's my second problem with this story. No, the second problem with this is that we have watched Jonah for months now, and by months I mean issues.
Like 14 issues.
Yeah, dealing with that grief, trying to figure out we kind of know what happened to her, to Phantom Girl. And then he's trapped in the past, and then in this issue, they just rush, like, let's crank this thing up to 11 and just rush through this story so we can get Ultra Boy back to the future. And I don't know, I understand what they're doing. I understand we need to get the team back together, but right. I'm also thinking that if the entire point was to send him to the past to deal with his grief with this woman, we could have skipped over all of that other in the past stuff where he's trying to escape. He could have been blown, not through time, but also through space, and ended up on Earth. And we could have spent the last 4 or 5 issues with him, with this woman, dealing with things together. Anytime he tries to push something, suddenly his mind starts thinking something else, so we don't trust this woman. And then Naboo shows up and does his thing. That would have been a much more satisfying ending than let's rush this through to the very end.
Yeah, it feels to me like they realized they decompressed a little too much.
Yeah.
They have a story that they want to get to here in these next 4 or 5 issues. And they're just like, we better wrap this up. Somebody's in the wings with a hook, so we're going to wrap this up and get Joe back where he belongs. Yeah. But I agree with you. I feel like the emotional value of it is still solid, especially compared to the just soul-crushing horror of the first half of the book. But yeah, it does feel like, we're going really fast. But also, the other thing that makes me really mad, Naboo looks exactly like Mordru.
Yeah, to an extent,
Is that intentional? Were they like, maybe Naboo and Mordru, there's some tie? It would be terrible if 35 years down the line, we knew that was not the case, and it was just we drew the same guy in 2 different places. But yeah, that is the real angry flaw of 19 for me, is Mordru is Naboo and Naboo is Mordru, and never the twain shall meet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for this installment of the Legion Clubhouse. Thank you for downloading and checking us out. On the next Legion Clubhouse, oh man, what's that Bastich doing here? What's that mean? Just gonna have to find out next time on the Legion Clubhouse.
The Legion Clubhouse is a production of Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC, and is produced by Steven Schleicher. Your hosts were Matthew Peterson and Steven Schleicher. You can follow Matthew at Mighty King Cobra and Steven at Major Spoilers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Legion Clubhouse. If you have questions or comments, send them to podcast@majorspoilers.com. I'm Jason Inman. Until next time, eat it, Grandpa.
This podcast is copyright 2024 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.